You ever heard of a place where screams vanish into dust? Mborica's that kind of place. A slum hidden behind the glittering towers of Lagos, where boys like me Tamba aren't born. We survive. They say I cheated to win, that I had answers no street rat could ever know, but they didn't see the blood on my shoes, or the ghosts I buried beneath every correct answer. It all began the night my brother Juma disappeared. He had just turned 16, tall, cocky, always flashing that stupid half-smile. We were both orphans, raised in a leaking shack beside the fish market. Every day, we dodged debt collectors and dealers like a game of tag with the devil. But that night, something changed. Juma had gotten a phone. Not just any phone, a rich man's phone, the kind with gold trim and a snake wallpaper. He wouldn't tell me where he got it. Said it was a gift. But nothing in Mborica came for free except pain. That night, I woke to the sound of dripping. Not rain, something thicker, warmer, blood. A trail led out the shack. I followed it barefoot, heart clawing up my throat. Past the sleeping vendors, past the rusted truck with the shattered mirror, down to the alley behind the mask. That's where I found the phone. Just the phone, still glowing, still showing that same snake, slithering across the screen. But no Juma, only the wind whispering my name, the warning, Tamba. Tamba. I picked up the phone. My hand stung the moment I touched it, like it knew I didn't belong. And then it rang. Unknown number. Just one word on the screen. Run. I didn't run. I stood there like a fool, the phone vibrating in my palm, whispering threats through the cracked speaker. My breath caught somewhere between my chest and my spine. Then just silence. But Mborica never stays silent for long. That's when I heard it. Click, tap, drag. Footsteps dash slow, scraping, uneven echoing down the alley. Someone was coming, not fast, not aggressive, just steady. Like they knew I wouldn't move, like they knew fear would paralyze me better than chains ever could. From the shadows emerged a man in a white caftan, stained at the hem with something dark, mud, no, thicker. It clung like blood. His face was hidden by a wide-brimmed straw hat, but I could see his mouth, smiling. A wide dot in his hand was a bone cane, bleached and cracked, the top carved into the shape of a child's skull. He tapped it against the ground as he walked, each strike sending a jolt through my stomach. Looking for your brother, he said, voice like sandpaper and honey. I couldn't answer. My tongue felt nailed to the roof of my mouth. The man stopped a few feet away. His breath smelled like burnt feathers. He screamed, "You know," he said softly. "They always do at." First, he tilted his head, just enough for me to glimpse the thing inside his robe. A necklace of teeth. Human teeth, all small, all white, all grinning. "Give me the phone, Tamba," he whispered. "It doesn't belong to you." I didn't ask how he knew my name. I didn't ask how he knew I had the phone. I just ran. But even as my feet slapped against the dirt, even as the world blurred around me, I could hear the tapping behind me. Click, tap, drag. He wasn't chasing me. He was just following, like he already knew where I'd end up. I didn't stop running until my lungs were scraping raw against my ribs. I thought I'd escaped. But you don't escape a man with a bone cane. You just delay the moment he catches up. The phone in my pocket buzzed again once, twice, then stopped. I didn't look. I couldn't. Not after what he said. Not after that necklace of teeth. I ducked down an alley I didn't recognize. This part of Konkani was different, quieter. No kids shouting. No radios blaring old Afrobeats. Just stillness. Like even the air held its breath. And then I saw it. At the end of the alley stood a house that didn't belong. No paint, no lights, no sound, and no windows. Just four walls, a slanted roof, and a door painted deep red, cracked down the middle like it had been clawed from the inside. The kind of place you don't notice until it's too late, until it notices you first. I should have kept walking, but something pulled me closer, not curiosity. Not bravery. Desperation. I pushed the door open. It didn't creak. It breathed. Inside. The air was thick and wet. The walls were covered in handprints, dozens of them small, large, smeared like someone tried to escape. There were no lights, but somehow I could see. Everything was cast in this sickly yellow glow, like a candle had been lit in the belly of a dead thing. And in the center of the floor, surrounded by chalk circles and broken amulets, was a chair. A boy sat in it. His eyes were sewn shut. I didn't scream. I couldn't, because when he turned his head toward me, he smiled and said, "You took the phone, Tamba. Now you have to see." Then the door slammed shut behind me. I stumbled back, knocking over something brittle, bones, maybe. The smell was worse now, like wet metal and old blood, but I couldn't look away from the boy in the chair. He grinned wider. Dr. Wide. "You took it, Tamba," he repeated, his voice like two people speaking at once, one a child, the other. "Something ancient. Now you have to see." Then he opened his mouth, and something crawled out. Not an insect. Not a rat. It was a finger. A single, human finger, slick with black fluid, dragging itself across his bottom lip, and it was trying to escape. Behind it came another, then another, a whole hand, clawing its way free, as if someone was trapped inside him. I backed into the wall, heart screaming against my ribs, gasping for air that felt like it was turning to ash in my lungs. And then the boy said, "You want to be a millionaire, don't you? You want the answers, the fame, the girl." I hadn't told anyone about the show, not the audition, not the prize money, not Salima. And yet, he knew. He stood now, though I don't remember his legs moving. He just sort of unfolded, like his bones remembered where to go. "The first question was easy," he whispered, "but every answer you give opens a door." I shook my head. "What are you talking about?" He tilted his stitched eyes toward me. "The show. It's not a game. It's a summoning." Then his head snapped to the side, unnaturally sharp, and he screamed. Next, suddenly, my phone rang. I looked down. A new question had appeared on the screen. Question 2. "What did your brother bury behind the well when you were 8? My blood froze. I hadn't thought about that in years. Not since Dobbo made me swear to forget it. But the screen blinked. 10 seconds. And behind me, I heard something heavy slither across the floor. I gripped the phone tighter, heart racing. 10 seconds. 9, 8. My thumb hovered over the screen. My brother. Dobbo, we were just kids. I barely remembered that day. Only flashes. Dry season. A broken shovel. His hands scraped raw. Me crying. And something wrapped in cloth. "What did your brother bury behind the well when you were 8? I heard the slithering again. Louder. Closer. A wet, dragging sound like something huge pulling itself across the ground with broken limbs. 7, 6. "Tamba," whispered the boy with stitched eyes. Voice honey smooth now. "Answer wrong. And it won't just crawl. It'll dig through you." And then I saw it. From the far corner of the room, a bloated, eyeless creature, skin pale and stretched, fingers too long, dragging behind it a tattered piece of cloth. Just like the one Dobbo had used to wrap that thing all those years ago. I gasped. I remembered. It wasn't a toy. It wasn't food. It was a kitten. Dobbo had taken it from the old herbalist's hut. "It's cursed," he said. "It saw something it shouldn't have. He buried it while I cried, whispering words he shouldn't have known. Words that made the wind stop. My fingers shook as I typed. A cursed cat. The screen flashed. Green. Correct. And just like that the creature screamed. Not with pain, with rage. It recoiled, writhing, then burrowed straight into the earth, vanishing in a flurry of dust and blood. I collapsed to my knees, gasping. My phone buzzed again. Question 3. "What did your father hide beneath the church floorboards?" The message burned on my screen, like a curse. What did your father hide beneath the church floorboards? For a second, I thought I misread it, but no, the question stayed, and suddenly, I wasn't in the basement anymore. The walls around me cracked and reshaped. The scent of sweat and blood turned to burned incense and wet wood. I was back in the old chapel on the outskirts of our village St. Elijah's. That place had always felt wrong. Not haunted. Exactly. Hollow. The kind of place that echoed with prayers that never reached heaven. I heard a hymn now slow, warped, like it was being sung backward. And then I saw him, my father, kneeling beneath the altar, hammer in hand, sweat pouring from his face. He glanced over his shoulder. But he wasn't looking at me, he was looking at something behind me. Don't let them hear it, he whispered, breath ragged. Then he pried open the floorboard, and from the shadows, a hand reached out, small, charred, with rings carved into each finger, like bone tattoos. I screamed. But I didn't move, because I remembered now, the screams. From the church that night weren't rats, they were a child's, and my father never let me inside again. He told me it was just a storm. But the next day, the priest was gone, and so were 3 children from the orphanage. My fingers trembled. I typed, 3 children, wrong. The light shattered. Blood dripped from the ceiling. And then I saw Father Mensa, crawling toward me with no eyes, dragging a floorboard with a mouth carved into it, whispering, take my place. The next question flickered into view. Letters twitching like insects. What song was playing when the radio station caught fire? My stomach turned, not because I didn't know the answer, but because I did, and I hadn't heard that song since the day of the Sunside FM fire. The day my brother disappeared. Suddenly, the basement walls melted into orange light and smoke. I was standing outside the old radio station burned down years ago, its walls still soaked in soot and melted vinyl, but the sound, it was still playing. That song, Oh Mama, Hold Me Close, The Fires in the Sky. The exact tape that was spinning when the building exploded. Only this time, it wasn't coming from the ruins, it was coming from inside my own ears. I looked down, my hands were covered in ash, my fingertips blistered. I stepped inside the remains of the station, and there it was, the broadcast console, melted but alive, wires pulsing like veins. Then I saw him, my brother, or what was left of him, charred, skin peeled, eyes missing, but still smiling. He turned the dial, and the broadcast changed. Now it wasn't a song, it was a recording. Me, as a child, crying, begging someone to stop. Please, my voice sobbed. Don't make me go back in. I dropped to my knees, typed, Fire Dance, the name of the cursed track. The screen stayed still. Then it blinked red, correct. Next question. And just before I was pulled into the next room, my brother whispered in a voice that wasn't his, you left me there. The room shifted again. Hot wind rushed past me, thick with the scent of roasted maize, sweat, and decay. I found myself in the old market of Makuta, where I used to steal mangoes as a child. Only now, it was wrong. Stalls were crooked, fruits on the stands pulsed like organs, flies buzzed but made no sound. And then I saw her, the market woman who used to sell herbs and smoked catfish near the well. Her skin was dark and beautiful, wrapped in bright anchor cloth, but something was off. She had no shadow. The sun above beat down mercilessly, casting long shadows of everything and everyone except her. I froze. She was humming the same lullaby Mama used to sing. Sleep, my child, the road is long. Your dreams will keep you strong. I approached slowly. Her face didn't move. Her eyes didn't blink. Then she turned and spoke in a voice that echoed backward. Do you remember the knife? The next question floated above her head. What did you trade for the blade? My throat dried instantly, because I remembered, when I was 10, I traded my only pair of shoes, a gift from Mama, for a switchblade from a street boy named Cobra. I told everyone it was for protection, but the truth, I wanted to be feared. Like Cobra, I wanted to never feel poor again. And when I made my first cut, it wasn't to defend myself. It was just to see blood. The woman stepped closer, and her face cracked literally. Hairline fractures spread across her cheeks. From her mouth, a swarm of black beetles poured out. I screamed, stepped back, and typed, my shoes. The bugs stopped. The woman Shattered like porcelain, crumbling into ash. Correct. Next question. And then the ground collapsed beneath me. I landed hard, concrete beneath me. The air smelled of burnt wires and old blood. Flickering light bulbs swung from the ceiling like nooses. I was in some kind of underground gambling den, the kind I used to sneak into back when I ran with street boys. Except this time, everything was silent. No shouting, no clinking of bottles, no dice hitting the table, just one man, sitting alone at a poker table made of bones. He was wearing a sharp brown suit, too clean for a place so dirty. But it was his smile that made my stomach drop. His teeth. They weren't teeth. They were gold coins, polished, glinting, engraved with faces screaming in agony. He gestured to the seat across from him without speaking. I sat. The cards dealt themselves. The man tapped the table once, and a question burned into the wall behind him. Asterisk, asterisk, what price did you pay for your brother's silence? My hands trembled. Not that memory again. My brother, Cobby. He was only 12 when he saw me stab Cobra, the same street boy I'd once idolized. It was self-defense, but no one would have believed me. Cobby had run home crying. I followed him. I begged. I threatened, and finally, I gave him something I had stolen from Mama's shrine, her last golden bangle, a family heirloom. Sacred. Untouchable. He took it. He never spoke of Cobra again, but the next day, Mama found the shrine desecrated, and that night, she fell sick. She never recovered. The man across the table grinned wider, his golden teeth clinking as they shifted. The room grew hotter. I reached for the cards and wrote with my finger, Mama's bangle. The table split in half. Cards caught fire. The man melted into a pool of molten gold, screaming in 3 different voices. Correct. Next question. My ears rang with whispers as I was dragged upward by invisible hands. I woke up dressed in white, not hospital white, not prison white, ceremonial white, lace, beads, cowrie shells woven into my hair. My wrists were bound in red thread, too tight, cutting into skin. I was standing at the altar, but this was no church. It was a clearing in the jungle, lit by hundreds of candles stuck into human skulls. The guests all wore masks, but I knew their eyes. Some were the children I had outsmarted in scams, some were the women I had seduced for shelter, and others were already dead. I saw Mama. Her eyes were full of tears, but her mouth was sewn shut with thorns. A priest stepped forward, except he wasn't a priest. He was a scarecrow made of rags and bones, with a rooster's head and human hands. He spoke in a voice made of dry leaves and shattered glass. You promised yourself to something long ago. You took what wasn't yours and gave no offering. Now, you must marry the debt. A groom emerged from the shadows. I wanted to scream. It was Cobra. His chest still bore the wound I'd left him with that night long ago. But his face was smiling. Forgiving. And empty. His skin was cracked like clay, his eyes leaking black tar. He took my hand. It was cold. The priest turned to me. Do you, Kwabena, take this curse, this silence, this forgotten scream, to hold and rot, till death unwraps the bones. I couldn't move. My lips opened, but no words came out. The crowd chanted, say it, say it, say it. The red thread burned hotter around my wrists. I closed my eyes and whispered yes. Lightning crashed. The forest screamed. And when I opened my eyes, I was sitting alone. In my childhood home. The wedding ring on my finger wasn't gold. It was a rotted tooth, and it pulsed like a second heart. After the wedding, everything changed. I could no longer sleep. Whenever I closed my eyes, I heard it clinking, ticking, whispering. Coins. But not ordinary coins. They didn't jingle. They hissed. And every time I blinked, I saw them falling from the ceiling, rolling out of my ears, crawling under my skin like silver beetles. I stopped eating. My stomach rejected food, but craved metal. I bit down on a coin once, just to feel its cold certainty. My teeth cracked. Then the visitors came. Not people. Shadows in fine silk. They wore smiles that didn't match their eyes. They came through walls, sat at my table, nodded in unison. Each one placed a single coin in front of me. Buy back your sins, Kwabena, they whispered, voices in sync. Buy back your soul. But when I reached for the coins, they bit me. Tiny mouths, tiny screams. I fled to the market. I thought I could find something, anything to make it stop. But no one saw me. Not the butcher, not the spice sellers, not even my childhood friend, Kojo, who walked right past me like I didn't exist, until I passed the old beggar near the mask. His face was wrapped in white cloth. He tapped a metal bowl in rhythm. And when I walked by, he lifted his head. I froze. He had no eyes, but he saw me. You took the coin from the well, didn't you? I didn't answer. Couldn't. You didn't earn it, he said softly. Now the coins whisper, because they remember. I stepped back. He lifted his empty bowl and poured it upside down. No coins fell, just blood. And the whispering got louder. Tick, tick, tick. Debt is due, Kwabena. Debt is due. That night, the air in my room thickened like wet wool. No breeze, no sound. Even the crickets had vanished. I sat in the corner, back against the wall, clutching a rusted coin that had burned a mark into my palm. Its heat pulsed like a heartbeat. And then, the door opened, but no one had touched it. He entered without footsteps, a tall man in a cobalt suit, polished shoes that didn't touch the ground. His skin was ash-grey. His eyes glowed green like lanterns lost at sea. And his mouth, that smile, too, wide, to many teeth. Kwabena, he said, his voice like drums beneath water. I've come to collect. I couldn't speak. My tongue felt nailed to the roof of my mouth. He raised a silver ledger. Its pages turned themselves, covered in ink that slithered like worms. Do you know the cost of a shortcut? He asked, tilting his head like a curious predator. You borrowed fate. And fate always demands its pound. He reached into his coat and pulled out. My heart. Still beating, still inside my chest. Yet I could see it in his hand. I screamed. No. One heard. He pressed the heart to his ear like a seashell. He muttered, still full of lies. Then he opened his mouth and began to swallow it whole. I lunged forward, but my arms moved like they were underwater. Sluggish. Heavy. You're not being punished, Kwabena, he whispered, leaning in close. You're being balanced. Then he faded, his grin the last thing to go, like the Cheshire cat in a nightmare. When I woke, my pillow was soaked in blood, not mine. Coins spilled out from under my mattress, but they weren't coins anymore. They were teeth, all engraved with my name. I thought I could run. I left the city before dawn, boarding a rickety bus that smelled of rust, fear, and cassava. I told no one, not even Ayo, not even Mama Binta. I just vanished. The bus dropped me off in the middle of nowhere, a dead-end road swallowed by grass. And there, perched like a vulture, was the house. The one I dreamt of since I was a boy. No windows. No sounds, just a door, red as raw meat. I shouldn't have entered, but I did. Inside, everything was wrong. The walls pulsed, the ceiling wept. There was no furniture, only bones stacked like firewood in every corner. And in the center of the room sat a woman in a rocking chair. Her face was smooth. To smooth. No lines, no pores like clay that hadn't dried, but her eyes, they didn't blink. Not once. My son returns, she said. I froze. You left me here. You ran from your truth. But truth has a way of crawling home. She rose without moving. One moment seated, the next, nose to nose with me. You thought winning the game would free you, she hissed. The questions were only bait. I stumbled backward, tripping on the bones. They whispered as I fell. Each one moaned my name. She reached for me with fingers that bent backward. Not wrong, just rewritten. Like someone had scribbled over a human being and pressed to heart. Answer me this, Kwabena. Her voice was sweet honey poured over fire. Who gave you your first lie? I didn't know. I couldn't remember. Then sit, she said, and wait until you do. I blinked dot, and suddenly the room had no door dot, no light dot, just the rocking dot, and her eyes, still open, still watching. Time stopped in that house. I don't know how many days passed, or if days even passed at all dot. There was no sun, no moon, only her, and the chair that rocked with no rhythm. She asked me questions, over and over, but they weren't the kind with answers. What color is betrayal? How loud does guilt whisper? Can you love something you fear more than death? Each time, I failed to answer. The walls bled dot each time I tried to lie. The bones shifted. I started to hear them breathing. That's when I knew. This wasn't just a house dot, it was a mouth, and I was inside it. Then, one night, if you could call it night, I heard a sound, a drip dot soft, repeating dot like a clock made of water dot. I followed it dot past the bones, past the place where her chair should have been, now empty, rocking harder, faster dot. I found a room dot dark, except for one candle burning atop a metal table. On that table was a radio dot, old, dusty, and somehow playing. The static gave way to a voice, a familiar one, mine. The answer is Ayo. I heard myself say I did it all for her, for us. Then a sound, click, buzz, applause, correct. A deep voice said, next question. I froze dot. It was the show, but twisted dot, perverted dot. The voice came again. Final question, Kwabina. One answer left. What are you willing to lose for? The truth. The room fell silent. Even the rocking stopped. And then the walls whispered, everything. That's when I saw it. Her face on the wall. Her unblinking eyes stretched across the ceiling. Her mouth grinning across the floorboards. The house wasn't just watching me dot, it was her dot. And it had one more question to ask dot. I couldn't move. The candle's flame flickered like it was afraid to stay alive. The radio still buzzed with my voice, echoing back truths. I didn't remember speaking dot my name. Her name dot, Ayo dot. And then the floor cracked dot, not creaked dash cracked dot. From beneath it, a hand rose dot, thin, ashen, bones tied together with sinew and something darker. She pulled herself out of the floor like it was water dot, not Ayo as I knew her, but something she had become, or maybe always was. Her face still looked like hers dot, almost dot, except for the eyes. They weren't hers. They weren't human. They were questions dot, endless, hungry questions, and they were staring into my soul. She stepped closer, each footstep echoing like a judge's gavel. Answer me, she said, her voice now made of 1,000 whispers. What are you willing to lose for the truth? I wanted to scream, but I knew now, the whole thing, the show, the questions, the prize. It wasn't about money dot, it was never about money dot, it was about truth, and truth demands sacrifice. I closed my eyes, took a breath, and answered myself. The candle blew out. The house screamed, not groaned, not creaked dash screamed dot, as if every wall, every floorboard, every memory it had stolen was being ripped apart. The wind howled, the bones fell silent, and she faded, mouth open dot, silent dot, accepted dot. When I woke up, I was on a dirt road outside the village dot, morning sun, birds singing, like none of it ever happened dot. No show dot, no mansion dot, no Ayo. Only a single object in my hand, a small, worn question card. On it, written in deep red, was it worth it? I turned it over dot, blank dot, and yet I knew the answer, and I knew the price. Some say I disappeared dot, others say I went mad, but I walk now, village to village, quietly, watching, because the truth, it's still out there dot, asking dot, waiting dot, and someday you'll hear it to dot, when the question comes dot, when the light flickers dot, when the house breathes, and you'll have to answer, what are you willing to lose for the truth?